What's up everybody, Gundam Flexing here, and in this video we're going to be checking out the Master Grade Zeta Gundam 2.0. This model came out in 2005 and is the typical price of most Master Grade models, which stands around $45. You can find the Zeta Gundam in action in the 1980s Gundam television series Zeta Gundam. This is the sequel to the original Mobile Suit Gundam. The Zeta Gundam 2.0 was the first model released in 1996. And interestingly enough, the Zeta model started out in 1985 with a high grade, and Bandai slowly released updated high grades, a 1/100 scale, and a master grade model. The Zeta Gundam 2.0 has a lot of unique features. It is most known for the transformation from a mobile suit into a fighter jet called the waverider. It has 4 main weapon systems, a mega beam cannon, a beam rifle, 2 beam sabers, and 2 tube grenade launchers. The kit also comes with minimal stickers and decals, and finally, the kit also comes with its own stand, which also serves as a launching pad for both the mobile suit and the waverider itself. Now before we go into the model you see in front of you, I want to note that the left kneecap is missing. I don't know where it's at. It was on there last night and this morning it was gone. So it definitely disappeared. And before we check out the model itself, we're going to check out all the extra periphery items to include the stand, the weapon systems, decals, etc. And coming up first is the sticker sheet. And here it is. As you could tell, it is very minimal and they're all very easy to apply. You each have like elongated yellow pieces here, which primarily goes on his body. And of course you have like his eyes right here where my left thumb is at, and some other green and blue pieces as well. Very easy to apply, minimal stickers. And here is his dry decal sheet. And I didn't use any of them per the instructions. I think the color scheme is fine the way it is, but you do have this option if you wanted to use it. And you have the AEUG emblems and all that good stuff as well. You also have another decal sheet, and this is the sticker decals. And again, they're pretty much common design. You have like the white text or black text with like the red box outline here, and of course you have the AEUG emblems right here, and according to the instructions you litter them all around the body. I figure that it's not really necessary, but is a cool feature to have if you wanted to do it. And just to get this out of the way, here are the 2 beam sabers. I generally keep my beam sabers intact in the runner because I don't use them. Now the 2 beam sabers, the actual handle piece, are typical. That's just like in the side of the skirts right there. Now these beam sabers can also be attached to the weapon systems, to the beam cannon, and to the beam rifle as well. But I figure that I'm not really going to use this feature, but it is nice to have as an option. You also get 2 miniature figures right here. You have one guy, he's like the ground guide for this model stand right here whenever the model is about to launch off the pad. And then you also have the pilot right here. And of course you do have to paint both of them. And now looking at his biggest weapon system, this is the Mega Beam Cannon. Here it is. You have the 2 handles at the side. It's capable of being held by both hands. You have the trigger hand right here, or the trigger right here. And you also have hand guards at the side, right here and at the bottom. Now the Mega Beam Cannon, quote unquote, also transforms. Especially whenever you transform the mobile suit into the waverider, and it's very simple transformation. Basically the barrel just extends or it collapses as such. Here we have the barrel right here, and there's one thing that I want to note about this. Because this weapon is very elongated, specifically I want to highlight the elongated portion right here. There is no connector piece that connects these 2 tips together, so you will have some sort of spacing in it. If I could get the camera to focus, actually you could definitely see it right here. You can see that there is a gapping space right there. So be careful whenever you deal with elongated pieces, because if you warp them and they don't have a connector, they will sort of start to split in like this. But other than that, this is a pretty cool weapon system. Next is the beam rifle, and typical like the beam cannon, the nose area here is collapsible like this, like that, and again that's for the waverider mode. Here we have the handle that could also collapse inwards like that. At the tip here, you'll notice there is a little piece that sticks out, and whenever you go into the waverider mode, you just flip that over there, and there's another connector which will connect it to the jet. This is pretty cool. It is a magazine clip, which is not really detachable because you don't have any extra ones, so it's just there for aesthetic design. And also, this guy comes with a shield. Now, in my opinion, this is a pretty pathetic shield because it's so small. I mean, what can you protect? But again, it's really, in my opinion, for the waverider. This is pretty much the nose of the waverider right here. This shield is collapsible like this, like that. And you're able to connect it to his forearms via the connectors right here. I don't really want to bother using it because it's just like a, I really don't consider this a shield. It's so thin and small, but hey, the design is cool. And before we go into the model, one last thing to check out is the stand. Now this stand is pretty cool. It comes with several pieces, but the main stand, the main base, is this whole thing, and this is like one giant piece, which is pretty awesome. Here we have the foot stands right here, which whenever you're in the mobile suit form, you're able to place his feet on top. And one thing to note is that this thing particularly does not have any connectors for the feet. So how you lay the feet down, you're just going to have to simply balance it like this. So that's one thing to note. But at the end, you'll notice there's like these two, what I like to call like the PC pieces, and they just pretty much slide into here. So you're able to slide this piece up and down the base like this, and if you want to get it out, you just pull it out like that. It's very simple, very convenient. The stand also comes with this, which allows you to serve as a stand for the mobile suit, not for the mobile fighter. Essentially, the tip in here would go in front of the skirt right there, and it connects very well. It's very snug. No issues with that. It's actually very, very convenient as well. And we also have this connector piece, which I haven't really found out the use for it. Just judging by the end tip right here, I think it's primarily for the waverider mode. But more into that later, because the waverider, because it's a flat jet, the bottom of the portion could just easily fit on here and balance itself out. And one more thing to note about the stand itself is that it has like a launching pad type of thing right here, whereas you're able to connect the left end right here and make it like a launching pad, or you're able to add this connector piece here, and then you're able to just use it as a stand for your model. But either way, it's a pretty cool feature to have, and if you don't want to use it, you could just simply collapse it back into the stand. And if you don't want to use any of the pieces that I just mentioned, you are able to mount all these extra pieces in the back, which is very convenient. So that's pretty much it for all the periphery items and the stand. And here is the Zeta Gundam. This is a very basic type color. It's pretty much pays homage to RX-178. You have primary colors are blue, white, and red. I particularly like the face guard right here because it's just very sharp, very jaggedy. Sort of reminds me of like the Protoss units in StarCraft. And because this unit could transform, there are a lot of joints in the Zeta Gundam, a lot. So you really do have to be careful whenever you start manipulating things and not apply too much pressure where it shouldn't be applied, because then you'll start warping pieces. But this is the head, and because it can transform, the V-fin is collapsible like that. The head also shoots into the body right here. That's like for more of the transformation process. The head is pretty cool and it fits on very well. It doesn't have any colors, so it is able to turn left all the way and turn right all the way with no issues. If we look at the chest, this is pretty cool. Right here is the cockpit right here. So you're able to see that, and you're also able to pull that cockpit out whenever it goes into the waverider mode. In the back we have its wings. Now these wings are very peculiar because it's essentially attached to the tail, which is also the tail of the waverider mode, and to pull it out, it's like this and like that, and then you start manipulating the wings because this thing could literally pull out, and then you're able to make it a more V shape. But again, that's during the transformation mode, and here's his tail right here. On his arms, what I like about his arms is this portion right here. Like I said before, he has like grenade tube launchers in his arm. And in order to initiate it, all you have to do is just push it forward, and you can see the door open, and then you can just sort of pull it down all the way once the arm is moved forward all the way as well. Let me pull it out so I can show it for a demonstration. Right here and right here. Right there, which is pretty cool. And another cool feature is if I'm able to show you all. So because this thing is very mechanical, you have to push forward and the door will open. A cool feature here is that underneath this blue piece, there actually shows the missile pods, and I don't think I could get it open in a timely manner. But underneath this piece, it shows like the missile pods, which I thought is pretty cool because no one gets to see it, but it's like an option if you just want to have the bay open right here. I can't really force this thing open without perhaps tearing out the back end of the piece, but just keep in mind that underneath here has a bay of missiles, which is a pretty cool feature. And if we look at the skirt, here's the front skirt, and of course I moved the front part of the skirt here in order to show you how to connect to the base. And at the side of the skirt, we have his beam saber holsters. Now the beam saber holsters are in there pretty well, but here they are. And that's pretty typical for most Gundam models. The beam sabers either go like on the side of the skirt or they go on the back. And the back of his skirt isn't too special. You do have a lot of thrusters, and it's sort of hidden only because it sort of shows more whenever it's in the waverider mode. And his legs is pretty mechanical. My favorite portion is around the knee, because in order to transform him into the waverider mode, the knee would pretty much collapse over, and then you would push it down, and then you would pull it out. And you'll see it whenever I do transform it in the second half of this video. And this, again, this is also my favorite portion, like the extension of his legs right here. And again, that's just for the waverider mode. At the bottom of his feet, they all do collapse in order to show like a more sleeker version of the back end of the jet. And that's pretty much it for the Master Grade in its Gundam mobile suit form. The next half of the video is going to show you the waverider mode. And this is the Zeta Gundam 2.0 in its waverider mode. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes to completely transform the mobile suit into a fighter jet because the instructions aren't that clear. Plus, it's in Japanese. However, if you just mess around and try to match the pictures in the instructions or try to match the pieces where they best fit, it shouldn't be too difficult. The overall waverider looks exceptional, and it really reminds me of the fighter jets in the popular anime franchise Macross. And kudos to whoever developed this Gunpla, because it had to take a lot of planning and a lot of trial and errors to make sure the transformation was even this easy. A lot of joint manipulation had to happen, and every piece had to serve its purpose. So before we check out the waverider itself, let's check out the weapon systems. And coming up first is the one at the top, and this is his beam rifle. This beam rifle, similar to the rest of the Gunpla, is manipulated quote unquote like transformation or whatever. For example, you have this, and pretty much you just shoot the barrel inside, you push down on the scope, you tuck in the handle right here, and then at the end here, in its non-waverider mode, you essentially have to flip this piece out here, and you have a connector piece which will fit into the wing right there. Now, one thing I have an issue about this weapon system is the way it's going into the tail. Like, fitting it at one end is not enough to support it, in my opinion. And as you can see, whenever I put the weapon in there, like this to me is straight. However, it's just not tight enough for the joint itself, so the weapon system actually points down a little bit too much. And plus, it's not that well in there either. It doesn't take much effort for this weapon to get knocked out of place. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the bottom is his Mega Beam Rifle, which is secured on the bottom much better than the weapon system at the top. And similar to the beam rifle, the Mega Beam Rifle quote unquote transform as well. For example, you have the extended barrel right here and whatever, but you'll notice here is a little nub and here's like this little C catch right there, and that's what goes into the bottom of the waverider right there, and it catches right there. So it actually fits very, very well, no issues there. And plus, you'll notice that I'm using the stand as pretty much the base. And one thing to note is that this Mega Beam particle weapon right here doesn't really hook up to anything on the stand itself, and I can't find anything in the instructions which will allow the fighter jet to essentially be secured on the stand. So what I did was essentially, when I put the weapon system back on like this, I just put the end of the beam weapon right here into the crevice right there, and it sort of bounces out very, very well, no issues. And even if you didn't use the beam weapon itself, the bottom of the aircraft is flat, so it bounces off pretty well as well. And one of my favorite things about the waverider is this little cockpit that you're able to open, and boom, you could see the pilot inside. And of course, you could also do it when the Gundam is in its mobile suit form as well, but I just think that's pretty cool. You could just pop that open and you can see the pilot. Another thing I like is all the cool little thrusters at the back. So here we have the two legs, which pretty much serves as the like a propulsion system of the jet. And at the back is his skirts, which we'll see his many thrusters there as well. And as I stated before, every single piece had to serve its purpose. So here at the sides, right here, these white pieces, they're actually his side skirts, and you pretty much roll them up and twist them back and push them forward, which is pretty cool. And of course we have his legs. Now his legs had to be twisted around 360, and his knees actually had to be bent up in such a way where the internal joints had to allow the legs to be pushed up forward, and then you collapse it on top of each other. And I thought that was a pretty cool feature right there, because it really adds to the thickness of the plane. Here's his tail, and of course we have his wings, which in his Mobile Suit Gundam form is they're just on his back, but they're not as a V shape. Here's the bottom of the aircraft, and this is his small little shield, which is still surprising that he has a shield that small, or that they even qualify it as a shield. Here are the flaps of the wings. There. Here are the flaps at the back of the legs, or the back of the plane. Of course we have the tail again, and that's it. This thing is pretty thick and it fits on the stand very well, no balancing issues whatsoever. And this is the Master Grade Zeta Gundam 2.0. This is an incredible Master Grade Gunpla that I definitely would recommend. The transformation is definitely a selling point, along with the stand itself. This Gunpla comes out with many, many weapon systems, and it also has minimal stickers and quite a few decals. It comes with a bit of extra features as well, which is a big plus, and the overall product looks great, whether it's the waverider mode or the Zeta Gundam itself. So if you have any questions or comments, please post it down in the section below. As always, I appreciate you all for watching, and then I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.